Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment of truth. So we've found the text that we want to, or the dialogue, or this music that we want to animate using typography. We've done our layouts. We've gotten everything into Adobe Animate. So hopefully you followed those lessons. And if not, go back and watch them from the playlist here, or jump over to the website in the comments. And now we're ready to start animating. So as we did in the last lesson, we have all of our artboards on different in different folders, and we have our audio file down here set to stream so that we can hear what's being said. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start getting the words to pop up as they are being said. It's really important that we're going to mark it off so that the word pops up just as it's being said. And for this, it's a good idea to make sure that you are a little bit early instead of a little bit late. So it's better to be a frame early than a frame late. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrub through here. Okay, and remember that each of these is now a symbol. So if I turn back on my folder, if I click on the word I here, you can see it's a movie clip. That's going to be really important because we're going to want to move things around, and that's the way Animate works. So I'm going to jump ahead and put keyframes everywhere I want the word to show up. So if I come ahead here, at about frame 10, he says the word I. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to come down here and press F7 to insert a keyframe. So I is there, and I should have pressed, I put in a blank keyframe, and I should have put in a keyframe instead. Sorry, I'm just going to undo that twice. Undo, go away. There we go. Insert a keyframe is what I should have done. So not F7, that should have been an F6. So if I come ahead here, so there's I. And I'm going to listen to where he says no. And I'm going to say it's about frame 15. I'm going to throw down a keyframe right there as well. No. Who. Probably about here. Who. I. And then about frame 27, the word am is said, and I'm going to put the exclamation point at that. So right now we want to design with the end in mind. The letters have to end. Where they start, that's up to you, but they have to end as they're being said. So that's the most important thing. That's what I've designed for. So now as I go through, what's going to happen is as he's saying them, the words are going to disappear. Okay. And we're going to work now so that the starting point will be moved. So if I take the starting point and just kind of move it up, right? Just so that now I'm going to grab that last keyframe. And maybe even I'll just grab all three of them like this and kind of just drag them all up like that. Okay? Just so that now they're going to appear just as it's being said. Okay. So now they're popping up as they're being said, but they disappear way too quick. I want them to stay on the screen. Well, the next artboard doesn't start until about frame 53. So I'm going to come to about frame 45, let's say. I'm going to select all these frames and press F5 to insert a frame so that they stay on the screen. Let's take a look at what this is going to look like now. Okay, the words are popping up as he's saying them. So you might be looking at this and going, well, why do we have these two keyframes? It makes no sense. Like, when we just want them to pop up and have one, and you'd be absolutely right. But the reason why I have two keyframes is one is where it's going to start and where it's going to end. So this first keyframe represents where it's coming from, and the second keyframe is where it needs to be when it's done. So this first one, I can move it wherever I want. Do you want it to slowly come in? With kinetic typography, you don't want it to kind of gradually come in because it's too long for the viewer to watch it come in before he says it. Like, why is the letter I on there? And then 5 seconds later, he actually says I. It's too quick. So I'm going to jump ahead about 2-3 frames, let's say. I'm going to take this I and I'm going to move it all the way to the left so it's off the screen. And I am now going to put in a classic tween. Now you can tween it however you want. If you want to use a regular motion tween, go for it. I prefer classic tweens. I'm old school. So now it's going to slide in. I'm going to continue to do that for I know who. So I'm going to come ahead about 3 frames Okay, I'm going to take the word, slide it off to the right. I'm going to put in a classic tween, sorry. Same thing, I know who. So now we're creating that animation effect. We're getting the words to slide in. Now what you probably don't want to do is have animations overlapping over each other. It could be effective. Like for instance, if he's still saying no, if no is sliding the screen, I don't want who sliding at the same time. I might want no to finish before I start animating. So just be careful if overlapping is the right thing to do or not for you. So if I press enter now, I know who I am. Okay, now you can leave it like that where we've got a good thing going here. Maybe I just want the words I am to appear on the screen. Maybe you want them to zoom in. Maybe you want them to rotate. Okay, you had a whole bunch of different options. The only one I'm going to do here is at the end, because he's got that raspy like, he's like, you know, really digging in there. I'm going to take that exclamation point and I'm going to kind of make it dance, like it's like, you know, vibration is going on. So if I take this keyframe right here, and I'm going to rotate it a little bit to the right like that. And then I'm going to insert another keyframe right here. And I'm going to make it go to the left a little bit like that. Now, I just want those two keyframes to repeat. So if I copy these frames, so it's going to jump left, right, left, right, left, right. And I'm going to paste them right here. Maybe I'll have it happen a couple times. So I'm going to go paste frames and then paste frames again. And maybe one more time for effect, why not? And then you got some extras here too. And then I want it to be, you know, straight up at the end. So I'm going to say copy this frame, and I'm going to, I think I accidentally chose paste frames. I'm just going to go copy frames, that's better. And I'm going to go paste frames, and I'm just going to get rid of these extras. So I'm going to remove these frames here, remove frames. So now we've got, I know who I am. Okay, and so you can see we've got the beginnings of having everything animate on the screen. Now the question is, how do you want it to leave? So, you know, I could have them disappear like it is here, right? But what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to have it zoom at you. So it's going to be kind of like, I know who I am, and then it just flies away, or maybe it gets sucked in. That's where we can use our folders to have something apply to everything on that section. So I'm going to extend these frames, have it last on the screen a little bit longer. Let's go to about here. Okay. And I actually don't want that. I'm just going to clear those keyframes real quick. Okay. So I'm going to collapse this, and I'm going to say what I want to do now, I want to apply to the whole folder. So it stops wiggling there, and then maybe from here. So on the folder right here, I'm going to put a keyframe right there. And what that does, you'll notice it put a keyframe for all of them. And then I'm going to jump ahead down the line, maybe to here. Okay, maybe a little bit sooner. I'm going to go to the folder again, and I'm going to go ahead and press F6, and notice it's going to, sorry, I should probably collapse it. F6, and it put a keyframe for all of them right there. What I can do now is I can put in, and again you can do this on the folders, but since I've expanded it, I'm going to put in a classic tween between all of them. I'm going to grab all of the whole thing here, and again you can use the folder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way out here. If I can find my zoom just so I can see the whole thing, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to enlarge it. Again, you can kind of do this however you want. You're welcome to follow exactly what I'm doing, but you may, you know, decide to do your own thing. So I'm going to have it zoom and zoom and zoom, and then eventually it's just going to disappear. You may want to kind of move it so you're going through the letter A. So what's going to happen now is it's going to go, and then it's going to fly at you, and then it's going to disappear. So maybe right about here, you know, once we get to this point, we may want to insert a blank keyframe. So notice I'm selecting all the frames here to make that happen. You know, using my shift key and selecting all the frames. Again, that's where the folder comes in handy. I could have also just clicked the frame for the folder and done it that way as well. So now I've got, Okay, and we may even want to move that back a little bit. Like there should be a little bit more time for the listener. So maybe we bring it back just a couple frames. And I forgot to select. Really gotta get better at my selection here. Bring the blank keyframes back too. So now if I was to play this, and if we want to see what this is going to look like when it's actually exported, I'm going to save this really quickly just to be on the safe side. Press Control Enter and you get not too bad. What I would do here is I would just say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to collapse part 1. Now I'm into part 2. Same thing. Take all these keyframes now, insert a keyframe where you want the word to show up, move the keyframes over, and just keep going like that. You can have a look at the final product that's in the folder and the downloaded files to have a look at how this will ultimately look. But that's how you can animate different sections of this. If you're happy with that and you want to just go with this sort of method, you're done with the video series. But in the next tutorial, what I'm going to show you is how we can accomplish this sort of effect as well using the camera. So getting a little bit more detailed now and able to do a couple different things by using the camera included in Flash. So, or Animate. Ooh, that was an old school comment. So I'm just going to save that really quickly and hope to see you in the next lesson.